Without really having spent any time reading up formal literature or whatever on rhetorical strategies, I always try and figure out people's various rhetorical strategies by looking at the comment section and figuring out, okay, I see X amount of people resorting to this form of tactic, or 20 people out of 200 pointed to this argument or whatever. What does that mean about the way people think and the way people argue? And I'm always amused by resort to straw man, because I wonder if they're just trying to be trolls, or if they don't realize that what they're saying is straw man, or how or red herring, or how irrelevant what they're saying really is to the actual points at hand. One of the things that I consistently get about, what was it, anarchy, there was an anarchy video, and then various conspiracy theory videos that I've done, right? People have basically said, well, if you don't believe in the New World Order, then you support government baby killing, essentially, is what it comes down to. Or if you're not against the government and for anarchy, then you're for every bad thing that the government does. Well, no, I mean, there's position in between where you can be against specific acts of the government, but not think that they're all, connected to this vast conspiracy, or you can be against bad government and things like foreign intervention in governments or whatever, and not totally be against this or that. But people don't see it that way. They never see a middle position or give you the benefit of the doubt. And I don't mean all people here, obviously, but the sort of people that I'm talking about. Benefit of the doubt is something that somebody who wants to argue against you will never give you, and they're always going to go for some like, well, what about this? You didn't mention this. That's another thing that irritates me as well, is when people point out that I've failed to mention something that I should have included. My advice would be actually attempt to make a video discussing something and see if you can actually cover every single point, especially if you're doing it more or less extemporaneously instead of creating this whole big elaborate PowerPoint. I'm too lazy to do that. I mean, the incentive is not there to put in this elaborate effort to present everything perfectly and make sure that I've covered all of my bases, etc., etc. So if I happen to miss a point, then I leave it up to the audience to just sort of use their own common sense and knowledge to get at what I'm saying, instead of relying on me to tell them every little individual thing. But that doesn't stop people from assuming that you're ignorant of it, like the whole, I mentioned all this different social privilege and that sort of stuff, and they're like, well, other people are treated this way if they're, well, yeah, okay, I can accept that. I have long hair. People sort of view me differently on the basis of that, and that changes my position in society, etc., etc. But that wasn't really the point that I was getting at. It's like, get to anything but the point at hand. I don't want to prove that the New World Order exists. I'm just going to try and shame you by pointing out all these evil things that the government's done, or how bad the world is, and say that you're accepting of it because you don't accept the existence of the New World Order, or you agree with this action or that action of the government because you're not totally against government. These are ridiculous misdirections, and one of the most common misdirections, I guess, is just like the shotgun blast of information, where it's like, yeah, well, I don't agree that the towers fell at free fall speed, and da 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 da. Project Northwoods, invasion of Vietnam, blah 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 blah. And they'll just list off all these things that the government did like 50 years ago, most of them, without contextualizing them at all, or saying who did what and why. And this is supposed to have some sort of barrier, false flags. Just repeat these mantras and point to all these seemingly relevant facts to try and get you to go, oh, okay. Project, Gulf of Tonkin, Project Northwoods 50 years ago in the Bay of Pigs, well, that proves 9/11 was an inside job. Yeah, certainly. All this erroneous information that the people throw in your face is another interesting rhetorical tactic. my point here is that actually trying to have a meaningful discussion with most people is a pain in the ass most of the time. That's sort of one of the reasons that I came on YouTube, and one of the reasons that I never really, discuss my YouTube channel with people that I know in real life, or, promote it. Be like, go watch my YouTube videos, because, I mean, it really is just me rambling. But I don't, in my experience prior to making YouTube videos, most people would not sit and listen to somebody's unbroken point for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. They always want to interject with their yeah buts so that they can divert the conversation, or just generally argue back with you, or they tune you out after a couple of minutes, or whatever it happens to be. And people, some people know that I do this, and a few people know but haven't really seen my videos, and I kind of keep it mysterious, and it's sort of like, if you wouldn't sit down and listen to what I have to say for any extended length of time in real life, why in the fuck would you want to watch me talking to a camera? Really, some people obviously do. I don't think that I don't think ever are gonna reach the level of sexy Phil or anything like that on YouTube, but I've been far more successful than I ever thought that I would be. Truth be told, I find most people boring and vapid, and most conversations don't really progress beyond just complete and total irrelevant bullshit. And it sort of disheartens me that I think that the energy in the whole YouTube scene of people who actually like to talk about things has sort of died down as of late, or has gotten stale, because this is one of the only places where you can actually have meaningful discussion outside of like the rare chance that you might get in a college classroom, or maybe on a very rare occasion with another individual, rather than an audience of other people. And because it's pre-recorded, because it's sort of like a one-way monologue, you can watch somebody's video, listen to what they have to say, and consider it, and not constantly feel like, oh, it's my turn to speak, because I think it's part of human psychology that when you're in some sort of group setting, or when you're right there with some other person, that even if you don't really have anything to say, you want your turn to speak anyway, which is odd. And being in like group discussions, or being around a bunch of people that are talking about most things, it's very hard to have a very sort of strict rational discussion where you clearly lay out points, because again, it goes back to the yeah buts. Just for example, I was having this conversation about Ghost with somebody the other day, and I was trying to give the usual skeptical talking points, and it's the constant struggle with people to I'm going to assert my point of view over yours, or you mention this, oh yeah, well I'll mention this. Like when you're actually in a face-to-face conversation, when it's not a moderated debate, when you're an actual face-to-face conversation, it just sort of devolves into a clash of egos, which gets boring really, really fast, to be honest. And being not the sort of person who really wants to talk about shopping or football, or other the social drama or whatever, I get very bored,